is a place where illusion and reality become one. Imari can take you there. A fragrance to fire the imagination. Imari from Avon.
Hello my fellow fragrance friends, how are you doing today? Fragrance Martin, I'm here to bring you guys a fragrance review, and what makes this fragrance review different than all the other ones I've done is, well, for a while I'm slowly going back to reviewing some feminine fragrances. But when I say feminine, I don't mean that these are completely your run-to-the-mill typical female perfumes. Especially this fragrance, because this fragrance is an Avon, and as you guys know, Avon are a bit of a hit and miss house. I actually think that they're quite a good house, really. A lot of their fragrances are hit and miss, I will agree to that, although they do have some good historic scents. And the fragrance that I have on review here is a one from 1985, of course marketed for women, and it is Imari. Now you guys might know Imari. It is actually still being made by the house. A lot of people still do like this fragrance. I've smelt the new version and it is actually quite a nice scent, in all fairness. Although since smelling the new version I had to check out the old version, and I actually have a few bottles here, including this Rich Indulgence body lotion which came in a set. So but what I have here is, I have the, I think this is a, I don't even know what it is, it might be a 50ml with the built-in atomizer and everything. And I even have this little, I think this is a 30ml. This is a cologne spray. Yeah, they're both colognes. This is an eau de cologne, this is a cologne spray. So yeah, I've smelled them both, they're pretty identical. But what makes this fragrance quite interesting is the fact that I even have the earliest edition, if you want to call it that. So here I have a bottle here as well, although this isn't actually called Imari, but instead it's called, I don't know if you guys can really see that, but the fragrance is called Impromptu. So we have Imari and we have Impromptu. So we have two of the same fragrances but with different names. I've looked online and the only bit of information I could find is that they changed the name to Imari from Impromptu. So, but what's interesting is when you go on Fragrantica, you'll find a page for Impromptu as opposed to Imari, and this was launched in 1988, whereas this was 85. So I'm not quite sure about which one came out first. I'm pretty sure Imari came out first, even though they say Impromptu came out first because they changed the name from this. I don't know. In all fairness, I really don't know. So, but we are going to do a review on it. We are going to be talking about the way it smells. As you guys know, I love my vintage fragrances, and I do hope that you guys enjoy this review. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray some Imari right here. Decent spray, in all fairness. I really do like this bottle, in all fairness. It's really classic looking. I do like it. I really do. And I'm also going to spray some Impromptu on here. And this, of course, doesn't have an inbuilt sprayer, but it's its own atomizer. So yeah, I really like the color of that juice, how it's just really like gold and amber. It's beautiful. So let's get down to the review. In fact, you know what, I'm even going to spray some of the 30ml cologne right there as well. So whilst that's dying down, we'll talk a little bit about it. Now, this was launched in 1989. The perfumer is unknown, but you guys did see the commercial at the beginning of this video, and in all honesty, I actually quite like the commercial. I really like how 80s it is. I think it's of course very elegant, even by Avon standards. I like it. I really do like it, and I'm pretty sure that this is the oldest formulation of Imari as well. Even though this bottle is from 1995, so it's like 10 years old prior to coming out. So I don't really think they changed the formula that much since 85 to 95. So let's get down to the smell. Here we go. So It's a woody, powdery, floral, green, aldehydic type of fragrance. It actually has a very inviting smell to it. When you first spray this, you are immediately gifted with this really nice, warm floral scent. That's exactly what I get from this. I wouldn't exactly call it feminine either, even in today's day and age. I would say this was completely unisex. It just has this, you know, I just love how this is how perfumes used to smell. These days they're very sweet. You get a lot of fruity notes, candy notes in a lot of women's fragrances. Back then they were really no different to masculine scents in terms of their use on notes. So there's a lot of mosses getting used in women's fragrances, and it's the same with resins and incense. So in the 80s and the 70s even, and even into the 90s, fragrances were very interesting in terms of their note breakdowns and their blending. And Imari really is no different to that. It just has this very inviting, warm smell to it. But if I had to really, describe the notes to you guys, it has this very, very up top, very fleeting galbanum note, which is very green. It really does transform you to the outdoors. It just has this earthiness to it. Kind of honestly reminds me of being in a forest. That's what the note of galbanum reminds me of. But it has this very vintage smell to it, and if it's used really well in a fragrance, it can give off a beautiful smell. And for this being a cheap, at the time I suppose, Avon fragrance, it really does have this really, really good smell to it for being an Avon scent. I just really think the galbanum and the aldehydes in the opening really do make this fragrance smell very airy, and just gives this fragrance this very charming smell to it. And there is a bit of citrus in the opening as well. There's a bergamot there, so it is keeping on top of your typical citrus openings in fragrances. And in this, it isn't like your typical straight up citrus or anything like that, but it does give you this citrus element, which is very, very nice and quite pleasing, to be honest. So as we get into the middle notes, things do start to get very interesting. You start to get more florals, and including the note of orris root, which really does give this a bit of a creamy spiciness to it. But you do get lily. There's even some ylang ylang in here, and I believe tuberose is even in here as well, which of course tuberose, a very classic floral, gives off kind of like a plasticky kind of smell in some fragrances. But if you have smelled a lot of tuberose in a lot of classic fragrances, you'll know that it's great for just creating this very opulent, deep, floral type of scent. And it's the same with ylang ylang, of course. Ylang ylang is one of my favorite florals, and when I smell ylang ylang, it just immediately transports me to the 80s and the 90s. Of course, wasn't alive back then, but I can imagine on how the scene and fashion would have been whenever I smell that particular note. The ylang ylang in this is rather toned down. It's definitely stronger on the tuberose. There's definitely a lot of lily of the valley in here as well, and of course lily is quite a famous note when it comes to Avon. It's the same with jasmine as well. Any type of white floral was definitely not obscure or unusual in a lot of classic Avon scents. And it's a pretty standard base in all fairness. There's some sandalwood, vanilla, musk, amber, including cedar, which is really, really nice in the dry down. But in all honesty, they both smell pretty identical. Like every single version that I have here, including the impromptu, the two Imaris, they're all really just identical. But a completely beautiful fragrance that really does take you back to the 80s, if you were alive in the 80s, that is. But it's a great nostalgic scent. I can definitely imagine women with big poofy hair wearing this, the mullets and that of the 80s. Really deep, dated makeup. I can just imagine it, definitely. But it's a great scent. I actually really do enjoy it. I enjoy wearing a bit of this occasionally. Not too much, but just subtly. I'm not wearing anything at the minute, but if I do wear a vintage sort of, women's fragrance, I just do one spray. And usually they do last quite a while, in all fairness. I'm getting the nice smell of it there now. I'm getting those florals. I'm definitely getting that breezy aldehydes. Just that galbanum up front. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So in terms of other fragrances like this, I don't really think there is. You know, it's a typical Avon scent, and what I mean by that is, you know, it has the typical Avon notes, if you like. You know, it has the aldehydes, it has some, you know, lily in there, and just the musk. You know, the musk is musk always smells the same in these vintage Avon fragrances. It has that DNA Avon sort of smell to it, which you can easily, you know, pick out. But it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance, this, guys. Imari by Avon. I would highly recommend that you guys hunt this fragrance down. You can still get this. The newer version is a little bit different. I would say it's a bit fresher. They've taken some of the mossiness from the galbanum out of the new version. It's still nice. It's still a very, very nice fragrance, although the original is more true. Of course, I'm not going to say it's better, because I mean it is, but I'm not only going to say that the scent itself is better. I mean, it is deeper, it's more original, but the new version is still very nice. The longevity is good for this version, actually. I get about 6 to 7 hours out of it, and it is a cologne at the end of the day, so it does last quite a while. The new version, I don't think it lasts a hell of a long time, but if you want to smell a nice fragrance, I think Imari is an amazing choice, because it is original and it does smell really good. And if you can't find it, I would recommend getting the older bottle, just because, you know, it is a little bit better, in all fairness. And with me being a bit of a vintage freak, there was just no exceptions for me to actually, you know, get it. I just had to get it, basically. So yeah, guys, that is my review for the classic Avon scent, which is Imari. An amazing scent, would highly, highly recommend it. If you guys want to see more reviews like this, do let me know in the comments below, and I will get back to you. I've got so many Avon fragrances, sort of classic vintage fragrances, and I'm not talking about, you know, the beautiful types of bottles that they did, because, you know, Avon would release their fragrances in the 80s and to the 60s to the 80s in so many different style bottles. There would be all sorts. There'd be golf club bag shaped ones, there'd be a clock shaped one. I'm not talking about those. I actually own vintage fragrances in their original bottles. So yeah, if you guys would like to see any more reviews on vintage retro Avon memorabilia, if you like, or antiques, because I do look at these as antiques, I look at any vintage as an antique, do let me know, and I will definitely get one sorted for you guys, and I'll keep you updated. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Keep smelling good and have a wonderful day. Bye bye for now.